Hello, 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 everyone. Good evening. Good evening. Hey, Brat, you're number one, girl. Good evening, PG. Much love. God bless. Summer Moon, you tall whales. Miss Norway. Prayers to everyone in chat. Love and prayers to everybody. God bless you, girl. God bless you. I appreciate that. Beautiful. You're number one in here. Number one. There you go. Hi, Miss Justice. All right. Much love, PGA girl. Much love to you. You know it. Number two. You're number two tonight. That did not surprise me. That did not surprise me. I look for her to always be in the top four. All right. New Year's Day. Girl, you're definitely making me a believer in that. For sure. Absolutely. Let's see who is number three. I believe it is Seeking Truth. Number three, girl. All right. Hello, PG Mods in chat. Much love. Hey, girl. Much love to you. You know it. And where is number four? Odd. It's Jane. How you doing, girl? How you doing? Good to see you. Evening, everyone. No summer, no peace. Amen. 4 years. We haven't given up on justice. Absolutely not. And we ain't gonna. We ain't gonna, girl. All right. I appreciate it. Girl, you number four. Amen. Let's get on down through here. See who else is in the chat tonight. Hey, Suzanne, how you doing, sweetie? Good to see you. And Linda, good to see you, sweetheart. Let's go on down through here. The legendary. How you doing, girl? Beautiful. Purple hearts for summer. God bless. 1956. How you doing, hun? Good evening. Good evening to you. Spunky, I see you, girl. Tiger Mama. Hey, there's our Australia. Hey, girl, how you doing tonight? God bless. Much love. Good to see everybody in here. Hey, Patty. Just chilling. There's Vicky. How you doing, sweetie? Oh, Patty, that's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Tiger Mom. I see you, girl. Deputy Sheriff. There you are. Lisa. APG, much love, beautiful lady. Much love to you. Much love to you. It's howdy to you too, Deputy Sheriff. Good to see you in here, sweetie. Stephanie, how you doing? There's Kathy. Oh, that's beautiful. Purple hearts for summer. Absolutely. There's Dorothy. How you doing, hon? I hope I don't miss anybody. There's GJ. How you doing, sweetie? And D. There's D. Oh, I forgot Peanut Shell. Don't want to pass you up, girlfriend. Absolutely not. Oh, Brad, I appreciate that. God bless. All right. We're going to get started tonight. We're going to get started. 4 years. 4 years. 4 years too long. You know, why has Ronnie not solved this case? Seems like everybody else working on it, putting the puzzle together. It seems like they've been able to, piece it together and pretty much solve it, right? Wonder why law enforcement can't, right? I'm wondering why they can't, Maybe they can't see the forest for the trees. I don't know. I don't know. But something really, really weird, really, really wrong in all of this, right? Something's really weird and really wrong in all of this. No doubt. We've been at it for 4 years. I feel personally it's 4 years too long. Law enforcement even refused to give an update this year, right? They don't even want to talk about it. Pretty much what they've done the last couple of years. They ain't overly wanted to talk about it. And I don't know why. Something ain't right here. Something definitely is not right. I ain't never seen nothing like this. Michael Vaughn's case, law enforcement ain't got no problem, updating the news channels and everything, every year that he's been missing. His parents have no problem coming out and updating everyone as well. Um, what's the problem on Ben Hill Road? What's the problem in Hawkins County? What's the problem with TBI? I'm not understanding this. Um, you got to wonder what exactly is going on here. I think we've kind of been gaslighted from day one. Did they really drop the ball? Did they really drop the ball on Summer's case? You know, I'm starting to think not. I'm starting to think that there was no ball to even drop, to be honest. It seems like it's something really shady going on up there with all of this. And I know a lot of people live in Tennessee, and all of these people are like, the law there is really, weird. The law there is really weird. What I'm saying is, I know a lot of people in Tennessee, and they're like, they can't depend on the law. The law, if they call the law seems to be, not for them, um, not for, righteousness, according to the people I'm talking to. And, and I could pretty much believe that. I mean, even Jackie Dobbs is like, I had a deed to my property, and law enforcement came up there. Not only did two people come flying off this hill, but law enforcement comes in there, don't really want to listen to me, tells me I need to leave, tells me, I need to contact, the realtor, and I need to do all kinds of things, when I'm holding the deed clearly to the land I own up there, and am getting blocked access to by not only these people who, live up there and are trying to claim, take claim to the property I have a deed to, but law enforcement's coming in here chasing me off as well with a clear deed in my hand. And instead of letting me, have right away to I paid thousands of dollars to obtain. And so, yeah, I guess I have to believe what these people are saying when, when they talk about law enforcement being kind of not for the righteous side of the law, So was the ball really dropped? Was there ever a ball to drop where Summer's case was concerned? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it is a question with what was going on and up, and everything up there, what we've heard, and what, some pretty solid people have said. Um, I think this case could have been solved. It's, it seems like there was a lot of facts in Summer's case. And, people say, oh, there ain't no, facts in this case. There's no solid evidence in this case. I think there's a hell of a lot of solid evidence. I think there's a whole lot of facts in this case, give me a second here. I'm going to name you a few of them that, exist, that I just know about, a few. One, I think we all understand that Summer's case was premeditated, thought out, planned, beforehand. Her hair was shaved. We seen pictures of that to the scalp. We saw the pictures. Candace and Donald clearly said on the news and said, oh, she wanted her hair cut like her brother's. Well, we clearly seen the picture where her brother's hair wasn't cut, right? So they lied. They lied. So we know the parents are liars. We know that they shaved this kid's head bald, for what reason? Because, it don't seem, if she had lice, everybody in the house would have had it, because she's always playing with her brother. She's always in, you know, close proximity of her brothers, and the rest of the family. So they would all had it. There's no way that, them creepy little crawlers ain't going to be all over everybody. And Summer wasn't even going to school yet. So wherever she picked something like that up must have been from one of the boys, or Donald, and nobody else could have gave it to her. Nobody else could have given it to her, because the only ones really around her was her immediate family. She didn't go to school yet. So it ain't like she would have went to school, caught it and been the only one. No, she didn't go to school. So, that is a fact. So, if what I'm saying is, if it was due to lice, well, the boys' heads would have been shaved. All of their heads would have had been shaved, because everybody would have had lice, right? And if they felt that's the only way of getting rid of it, then that's how everyone in the whole household would have had to look. But we know Summer didn't, look like the rest of the household, because the rest of the household had hair when she had none. And ringworm, well, you could clearly look at the picture. There's no signs of any type of sores or anything on Summer's head. So with that being said, it wasn't that. So why did they shave this little girl completely bald down to the scalp? I don't know, but they did. And I think that was, part of their plan. I don't know why they did it, but I'm sure they do. Because I believe that's at the start of everything here. And you had Hunter saying, oh, I noticed today, Candace picked me up. They had cut Summer's hair. No, we clearly saw a picture of Hunter up on the hill, standing behind Summer when she, was completely bald. Hair way shorter than it was in the picture, of the day she came up missing. So he lied. He lied. So that tells us they're all liars. And why are they lying? I mean, if you ain't got nothing to hide and you're not guilty of anything, then why you got to be lying? Why you got to keep changing your story up? That alone allows us to understand, that these people were all in cahoots together. So, according to Jody Sue Brown, her ex, Andy Bernard, was supplying the mother, Candace Wells, with drugs to sedate not only Summer, not just Summer, but other little girls as well. Some very evil human beings, could have their way with them. She, quote Jody Sue, you go ask him what he was supplying Candace to sedate those little girls, not just Summer, but other little girls, to be touched. Right? Now, that's fact. That's fact. She said this. And she said this at a very vulnerable time when she was very upset with Andy. And she, wanted to tell some truth on him. Hoping that, she was really thinking of putting him away. If I can't have you, that other woman you just put a ring on ain't going to have you either. And I think she told some truth on him, thinking about getting him put away. And then she reneged on it, after she cooled down some, and, and so forth and so on. She decided to renege on it. But she did say it, and that's fact. That's fact. And it adds up. It adds up with everything that went down. from the time Summer's hair was all shaved off, right all the way down to June 15th when she completely disappeared. So, about, um, and it was within a, 6 to 8 week span there. Um, so, and fact, Donald Wells started driving a Subaru on the 14th, fires his coworker. Fact, Donald Wells drove the Subaru on the 15th because it has Starlink. And fact, he came home and, met up with law enforcement. And the first one that he claimed, came up there and did what happened on the 15th was the coworker he fired the day before. Thank God the coworker had, an alibi, witnesses that he was home all day, with a broken down vehicle trying to fix it. Because had he not, been at home with that broken down vehicle, fixing it, he could be, possibility he could have been in prison today. An innocent man in prison for something he did not do. I kind of feel that, that Don Wells, used this man. I think sounds to me like Don Wells framed this guy. He framed him and, bared false witness on him, set him up, framed him. That's what he did when he fired him. He was setting him up and framing him for the next day to take the fall, to be the fall person for everything that had been planned out and was getting carried out. And that's what it sounds like to me. And that's fact. This is all facts. This ain't made up stuff. This is true stuff coming out of these real people's mouths that's involved in this case. We know that Grandis used her knee to be able to go into Kingsport and pick up Hunter to go to the swimming hole. Well, the camera went off as Hunter's going into the water. The next time we see Summer, she looks deceased on some milk jugs. That's fact. That's all facts. Candace goes home. She leaves the hill. Meets up with Chad Arnold down by Fred's house. She follows this guy out around 4:30. Out of Ben Hill Road, went somewhere, didn't come back for a long time. Actually, she didn't come back until about the time she started staging this abduction and calling law enforcement and doing all of this BS. So, and where was Summer? Well, last time we seen her, she's in the back seat on those milk jugs looking like she wasn't with us anymore. These are all facts. And, it's 4 years and the parents still haven't been cleared, right? The parents still have not been cleared. So what's up, Ronnie? What's up? What's up with this case? That's what I'm talking about. I don't know. I don't know what's up with this case. Because, it looks, like I said, it looks to me like it could have been solved within the first week. It wasn't. I think if it would have been anyone else, if it would have been anybody else with that many facts in their case, that many, solid testimonies and facts, they would have been prosecuted by now. I don't think that, law enforcement would have needed anything except all these statements that have been, thrown out here. And you'd have probably been in handcuffs. Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure if any of us would tell law enforcement where somebody isn't, if we said we know for a fact that, the person isn't there. Well, I think law enforcement would tell us, well, if you know they ain't there, then you must know where they're at. Turn around, you're under the arrest for the suspicion of, whatever. And you would be getting your rights read to you. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be held against you in a court of law, right? They're going to be reading it up to you. They ain't read nothing up to these people. They ain't read nothing up to these people, and I gotta wonder why. Just saying. Hey, Janet, I appreciate that, girl. God bless. Member for 12 months. All right. Exactly. God bless. Yeah, I appreciate it. Absolutely. 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 Missing for a long time, right? Hey, Tiger Mom, I appreciate that. Member for 8 months. Summer Moon, Utah Wells. Appreciate you supporting Summer's channel. God bless. God bless. Absolutely. Hey, Deputy, I appreciate that. Appreciate you keeping up with everything tonight. God bless. I appreciate your help. I want to put a shout out to all my mods on tonight. I want to let all my mods know how much they are appreciated. I know I don't say it enough, but I appreciate each and every one of you. And a shout out to Molly. Shout out to Molly for helping PG put some things together for tonight. And a lot of my mods behind the scene are always there helping and doing all they can, to help PG and to help Summer and help, the channel and this baby to get found, brought home, and justice served. And I really do appreciate it. So God bless each and every one of you. That's doing so much and helping so much behind the scenes. I do appreciate it. I do. Yes, she did. Absolutely, she did. PG Candace said in her first interview that wouldn't have happened if I was there. In reference to Dawn's phone call saying someone looking at the kids, she was being pimped out and someone got or hurt. Um, I think when Candace said that, um, that wouldn't have, they wouldn't have hurt her like that if I was there. I think she was referring to an earlier date. I think she was referring to whatever happened that made Summer become so ill. Summer's health was declining rapidly. It was declining really. Like if you look at the picture when they shaved her head, she was already declining. And from there, each picture after this, she just seemed to be declining more and more and more, right up to the few days before she disappeared. She was really looking, bad. So I think she was referring to whatever led up to all of this coming down to the point Summer disappeared completely. I think that's what Candace was talking about. But yes, I agree. I do think it had something to do with what Jody Sue implied about the sedation and the touching and so forth and so on. It sounds to me like Candace wasn't there when something went down, and and something went really really wrong because someone decided to do more than they was supposed to obviously be doing or something. And it couldn't be fixed. And that happens. That happens, more than people realize. That happens. No, you cannot deny facts. And I'm going to tell you, there is a lot of facts in this case, regardless, to what law enforcement wants to lead us to believe, and that's what I'm not understanding. It's like, yeah, I love Molly too. Molly is a sweetheart. God bless her. Um, Absolutely. Hey, Don B, I appreciate you being in here. Hey, I want everybody to listen to Don B. I want everybody to listen to Don B. He said, show PG some support and click that like button. Amen. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. But yeah, um, Absolutely. There's a lot of facts in this case. Why it hasn't been solved, I do not know. You know, Don and Candace Wells wanted to come out and gaslight people with a couple pieces of paper that wasn't worth wiping your backside on, right? Listen, DCS is not law enforcement. Don and Candace Wells did not ever clear themselves with law enforcement, and they still ain't clearing themselves with law enforcement. Actually, Don talks about that, and he talks about that in his interview, and I'll play that for you.
It's been really tough. Um, the social media groups would attack anybody that we knew, any employer that we worked for, and so it made it really hard for us to obtain employment and all these things. And but there's been people that's helped us, along the way, and we really appreciate that. It's for sure. But we're just hoping, God will turn it all around.
We're just hoping to God to turn it all around. I'm hoping God turns it all around too, Don Wells. I'm hoping he turns it all around and lets you tell the truth and your wife to tell the truth for once, right? Because if you two knew how to tell the truth, we know what happened to Summer. And that's my opinion. I will keep it. You shaved that little girl bald. You had her dancing around a for-sale barrel. You had her in your arms right there talking about, she's going to be disappearing, and you knew she was going to be disappearing. And oh boy, 18 days later, she did disappear when you started to drive that Subaru. So you would have Starlink as an extra alibi. That's a fact too. And you've fired your coworker to blame it all on, right, Don Wells? Absolutely. I'm telling you now, premeditated, right? Pre-planned, carried out. Absolutely.
We hope and pray all the time for that, yeah, we hope so. She could be anywhere. We don't know. Only, we just got to hang on to that hope and just do our best to,
Listen to his voice. Listen to when he talks. Listen to him. I think we've all talked to, I think everyone in this chat, put a 1 in this chat if you have talked with enough bullshitters to know Don Wells is actually bullshitting right now as he speaks. I mean, I'm going to tell you, I've talked with enough BSers that when someone talks BS, I see it coming. And he is definitely talking it right now. I mean, he's straight out lying. He's straight out lying. And when someone's talking BS, they always have that I don't give a damn tone going with it. Like, it just is what it is, right? It just is what it is. Like, they know everything because they're sitting there, acting like they don't. And it just, you can't make something sound real that isn't. You can't make it sound real. He's a crappy BSer too, right? He's a crappy one. I mean, I've seen some pretty good ones. Almost believable. He's not even believable, to be honest with you. I mean, if the truth is the truth, and when someone's telling the truth, you can feel it, it, and when they ain't, you can know that too. And I'm telling you, right now, the way he's talking, you could tell that it's not real, right? It's not real. It's BS.
Do what's right. Many times I've wanted to go back out west and everything else, but this whole thing has tied us down.
What a liar. What a liar. It ain't tied nobody down. Don Wells, you went to jail. You went to freaking jail for almost a year. And your old lady left for almost a year, living with one person after the other. Mostly, her friend Kathy the friend, right? They were both off the hill for damn near a year right after Summer went missing. And then Don Wells decides to throw the wrong person under the bus, right? Which was Wayne Morlock. He wanted to throw Wayne under the bus, act like Wayne was, some kind of essayer up there trying to do something bad to his daughter, making, trying to make people, put the focus on Wayne instead of him and Candace and Grandis. And he knew he knew then he messed up. Somebody must have sent him word, hey dude, you messed up. And then him and Candace took off over into Arkansas, right? And hid in Arkansas for months and months and months. I mean, when they went back, they didn't even want to go back. They were ordered. He was ordered by his probation officer to get back over into Tennessee because he was in Arkansas, laying around the hotel, obviously, on illegal substances so bad that he wasn't even showing up to work and everything. And, kind of got fired from my understandings. That's, allegedly got fired. And they were like, hey, you got to come back into Tennessee where we can keep an eye on you because you done screwed up over there where you're at. And, with all of this BS going on. So, they made him come back into Tennessee, but he didn't want to go back into Tennessee when he went out, right? He didn't want to go back. And then he's sitting there like, this is all held us down on the hill. We're just sitting up here waiting and, for 4 years, hoping that Summer just comes down the road and walks up to the house. No, you ain't been sitting anywhere. Matter of fact, you have showed us all that your daughter ain't going to ever come down that road and back up to the house, right? You've already let us know that she ain't ever going to be doing that. So why do you sit there on the news channels and gaslight and bullshit and lie like you do? And everybody knows you're lying. And I don't understand, why someone don't call them out, right? Oh, that's right. I am right now. I don't understand it. If I was working for a news station, I would have called him out on that. I just said, what are you talking about? You were in jail for almost a year and your wife gone off the hill. And then you were over in Arkansas, for a long, long time after you, threw this one guy under the bus. And I that seemed to be a big mistake because that's when you left. I would be calling them out, but you know why they don't? Because these people are like a lot of the creators. They don't want to call them out. They don't want to call them out because they're afraid then they won't be able to talk to them no more. Oh, we need an open communication. We need to use you, and have, this mutual ground with you so we can have you on the news whenever we want to. So we don't want to make you angry. We don't want to piss you off. And we don't want to really call you out or get to the nitty gritty of what happened to this little girl. I'm going to tell you, what the hell is wrong with this world today? What's wrong with this world today when we are supporting evil, when we feel that, we want to be friends with mother freaking evil people instead of calling them out for their evilness, right? I don't care if they didn't ever talk again. I'd call them out and get a reaction to help prove that, they did something evil to this child. Because this child needs people like that. Summer don't need backside kissers. She don't need turd pop suckers. She needs people who are going to stand up for her and call these people out on their bullshit so that she can get the answers needed to be found, brought home, and justice served. This whole country needs to learn how to stand up for righteousness and stop laying down. Right?
Right here, we can't do anything, not really. I mean, yeah, this whole thing's tied us down to this area for
bullshit.
4 years now.
Wow.
No, I don't think that's really kind of a tough question. For one thing, law enforcement and to me it seems like law enforcement and me and her as parents or whatever do not get along. They see things quite differently, kind of insulting and insinuating, and to me it seems like they kind of, look down on you a lot. I mean, it hasn't been very good. I mean, they tore our house apart 11 times.
Tore your house apart 11 times. I'm going to tell you something. I don't think they needed to tear anything apart 11 times. If law enforcement's worth the salt that goes in their bread, they would only had to come in there once and had all the answers they needed to prosecute the hell out of these people. Just saying. No signs of abduction. No, the Wells are not cooperating with law enforcement, right? Out of Ronnie Lawson's mouth, right there, out of his mouth. No signs of wandering off, and the parents are saying she didn't wander off. Don and Candace wanted to push abduction because they didn't want law enforcement all over the property up there. And, law enforcement was intimidating them. They were intimidating them, and they didn't want them around there. See, when you're a guilty person, the last thing you want is law enforcement breathing down your damn neck because you're paranoid. You think that they're able to read your body language. You think they're able to read your mind. You get real paranoid, especially criminals. Criminals get real paranoid when law enforcement's around. That's why they was pushing for abduction. But I'm going to tell you, Don and Candace is right. Summer didn't wander off, right? She didn't wander off, and they know it. And Ronnie Lawson's right. It wasn't no abduction because, Don and Candace and Grandis was pushing for that. So let's see what it could have been. Foul play, right? Which goes back to who? Don, Candace, and Grandis, right? Absolutely. And why have they not been prosecuted? And if they can't clear themselves in 4 damn years, why have they not been prosecuted? I think somebody needs to start asking, law enforcement, if these people you ain't been able to clear them in 4 damn years, then why are they still out here free? Right? So that's what you need to do. You need to either clear them or arrest them, to be honest. Yeah, Chris and Tootie, right? They're PIs. The PIs are supposed to be talking to law enforcement. Don and Candace is leaving it up to the PIs to talk to law enforcement for them. I'm going to tell you something. No, the PI shouldn't be talking to law enforcement. I'm going to tell you something. Listen, just saying, if someone you truly love came up missing, are you going to let some PIs talk to law enforcement for you? Just a simple yes or no. Are you going to let the PIs talk to law enforcement? Because I sure the hell ain't. I ain't letting nobody talk to law enforcement for me. I want to talk to them because I need to hear the answers. I need to hear what they got. I need to hear what they say. I don't like secondhand information because secondhand information changes. Right? It changes. And I don't know exactly, I don't like other people trying to tell me what was said because they could be, they could be downplaying it. They could be upplaying it. I don't know. So I like to do it for myself. Absolutely. I want to hear it with my own ears. I want to hear the tone that they're saying it in. I want to know how they're saying it. I want to know everything. I want to know, I want to know where I need to go next to get my loved one found. I need to know, what I need to do to get my loved one found. I mean, if law enforcement's doing their job, then great. I'm right there with them. I ain't behind them. I'm with them. Let's get it done. But if they ain't doing their job, or I felt they're not doing their job, then you know what? I'm gonna have to go over their head, right? I'm gonna have to go over their heads, and I'm gonna have to start, climbing the chain to get what I think needs to be done. Because when you got somebody you truly love missing, especially a little 5-year-old child, I'm gonna tell you what. And personally, with what I know about Don and Candace, with what I've seen and what I know about them now, if Summer would have truly been missing, oh, I'm going to tell you what, Candace's ass would have been front stage. She'd have been front stage, baby, the way she was with Benny Keys when she wanted to have him. Remember, she wanted to have him? You won't ever be lonely. Oh, my Benny. Oh, you won't ever be lonely. Remember that? Yeah, I can't forget it. It often keeps me fucking awake at night, right? Yeah. So let me tell you something. She didn't, she'll come out here and sing like that, right? She'll come out here and sing like that for some, dude she wants to get, she wants to get, where. But the point being, yeah, at the fishing hole in the dark. And she was front stage and upstage with, when she was wanting Ernie, right? When she was wanting Ernie, boy, she was right out here, taking pictures, hanging on him, and going on his line. I mean, she was front and fucking center with everything, you know. So I'm gonna tell you now, if she was fucking innocent, if that girl was innocent in all of this, her ass would be front and center. If Summer was really missing, and Don and Candace did not know where Summer was, in my opinion, they would be all over the mother freaking place. They'd be all over the place. Candace would have her face in everybody's face. Put a 1 in the chat if you agree with me. Because when Candace wants something, she got that ass out there front and damn center. And the only thing that ran her out of front and center is when Benny really started wanting to find Summer. And then, and then she dumps him, right? And then she dumps him. She don't want him back around. She don't want to talk to him no more when he says, Candace, we really need to talk about Summer. Oh, Benny, the hell with you. And then Ernie, she runs away from Ernie when Ernie's like, look, Candace, we need to talk. She just starts getting pressured to talk about Summer and to get the answers for Summer. She goes away, right? Ernie needs to go whatever himself, you ain't going to go fishing with me in the dark and just talk about me and you, baby. It's a no deal because this ain't about Summer. And I'm not going to be talking about Summer, right? And she's not going to be talking about Summer. Why? Because Summer is the one thing that can put them in prison. That's my opinion. I will keep it. I'm going to tell you now. I don't think Summer is missing at all. I don't think she's missing at all. She's missing to us, but she's not missing to her parents. I don't believe that Summer's missing at all when it comes to the knowledge of Don, Candace, and Grandis. I think they know exactly where Summer's at. I think they know exactly what happened to her and exactly what they done with her. And that's my opinion. I will keep it. And they haven't had their asses cleared by law enforcement, which tells me that they're number one damn suspects in their own daughter's disappearance. And law enforcement's just having one hell of a time proving it, or else law enforcement just don't want to for some unknown reason. There you go. But I'm going to tell you, somebody needs to stand up and start speaking the truth for this little girl. And I guess I got to be the one to do it, right? I got to be the one to do it. Well, I ain't got no damn problem doing it. I have no problems doing it. I'm not just standing up for Summer Moon Utah Wells. I'm standing up for righteousness. Pure righteousness. This little girl, this little child was an innocent 5-year-old baby. She did not deserve to have any of this evilness come down upon her. She had every right to be in this world like anyone else, and she had every right to live this life like everyone else. And she had every right for sick fucks to keep their hands off of her, leave her alone, and not be doing nothing sinister to her. She had every right to be a child. And children do not get touched. God don't give us children to use and abuse and do sinister things to. He gives us children to watch over, to raise them on a righteous path so that they can help and be an angel to other people in the future. That's why God gives us children. He gives us children so this world can keep thriving in a beautiful way, a kind way, a caring way. He wants us to raise our children to be kind and loving and respectful, not all messed up in the head because of evil, crazy, weird stuff being done to them. That's sinister as hell. And this little girl did not deserve to be in an atmosphere like that. And she sure didn't deserve to disappear the way she has. And she sure does not deserve everybody running away and not caring what went down on June 15, 2021 any longer, because it's been 4 years. Exactly. Exactly. Absolutely, Stephanie. Right? I'm going to tell you, I don't think Ellie ever took any tips anyway, to be honest with you. You know, I don't know of any that they ever followed. Do you? Put a one in the chat if you know of even, you know, put a one in the chat if you ain't ever heard about even one tip they followed, because I ain't ever heard about even fucking one. Not one that they followed. I ain't heard of one. And that's the truth. I've heard of outside people following them, but not law enforcement. Hey, Seeking Truth, I appreciate it. Super sticker. All right. I appreciate it, girl. But, you know, I haven't ever heard, nope, I haven't heard of law enforcement. Not one tip that they have ever, you know, that they ever followed. Not one. I mean, you know, when there, you know, somebody said she could be here, she could be there, it was somebody else, you know. It was somebody else running out there, you know, one organization or the other, or, a creator, or, you know. But law enforcement, no, not one time that I know of, right? Absolutely not. I can't think of one lead that came in that they actually went and, you know, and followed it. They said they got all, you know, like 300 and some, and they claimed that they were going down the dark alleys and coming back. But, you know, it sounded like bullshit to me. You know, I remember calling TBI a few times, way back 2021. I remember calling TBI a few times because everybody said, you know, don't call Hawkins County. I called Hawkins County too, though. But a lot of people saying don't call there, to call TBI. So, you know, I was calling both, pretty much both of them. And I did call TBI, and, you know, they you know, they used they had the same honey dripping out of their mouths as, you know, as Hawkins County did at the time, right? They had the same honey dripping out of their mouths, like they was concerned, but I could tell they wasn't writing a damn thing down. They wasn't writing nothing down. Um, and then they would ask you to call back so you could talk to somebody, and you would call back and that somebody still ain't available, you know. And it's like, why you ask me to call you back to talk to so and so? They're either they're out of the office or they'll be back in at a certain time the next day. And you call 3 or 4 times, and every time you get some damn excuse why you can't talk to this person that these people are asking you to call back to talk to, right? I think it was just a bunch of gaslighting bullshit. And, that's exactly how it seems. Because, Summer's case just seems too easy to solve to me. For nobody, nobody like nobody had to be on this case, because if there was somebody on this case, really some law enforcement on this case, I think this case would have been solved. I mean, the only thing I ever know law enforcement to be chasing was Don and Candace Wells. I do know that they was up there on the hill, you know, on Don and Candace. They, on the timeline, on this, on that. And I think that, they kept going up there, talking to him about this timeline and talking to him about and Candace is like, oh, I don't know. And Don's like, well, yeah, there's some time missing. There's like, good hour and a half missing, and Candace, that ain't fitting in there, and Candace, ain't able to think of everything she did because she was uh, with Summer coming up missing and everything. She, couldn't remember anything, and she doesn't, she's trying to remember, but she's having problems remembering because she's got like in shock. She's in shock, and all of this bullshit. And Candace went and talked with Chris McDonough, and she told Chris McDonough every single thing that happened, right? Every single thing that happened on June the 15th, 2021, from 9 o'clock in the morning all the way up until she took that video in the vehicle to come back to Ben Hill Road. Now, what she can't remember is after she came back to Ben Hill Road, and that's the most crucial part, because that is when Summer disappears, right? That's the part where Summer gets put somewhere, and that no one can find her anymore. And that's the part Candace don't want to talk about, because that's the part that'll put them in prison. Because if she talks about the part where Summer, not how, she don't care about talking about, how Summer became on the milk jugs. She don't care to talk about, how Summer, became on those milk jugs. What Candace don't want to talk about is where she went after the milk jugs, right? Where did you go hide her? Where did she go? Where did you put her? She don't want to talk about that. And I do believe she put her somewhere, in my opinion. Absolutely. I think, she also had help putting her somewhere, in my opinion, with some people like Chad Arnold. And that's my opinion too. Possibly over there at Morrison Cemetery and old Timothy Morrison's gravesite. That's my opinion. And that's because Jody Sue Brown talked about Timothy Morrison's gravesite back in 2021, it being an open grave and all the stuff over there. And then Andy Bernard talked about Morrison Cemetery, saying, that's where I think she is, and I'm not scared to say it. Well, law enforcement needs to go check it out. They need to check it out. Why do they need to check it out? Because it comes from a reliable source that lived right across the road from the Wells. And who would know better where this child might be than someone right in the community that is a suspect as well, right? That's a suspect as well. That had very close contact with the Wells. Matter of fact, damn near daily contact, because that's where they were getting all of their substances that they were addicted to and they were doing on a daily basis, right? But I don't see no, Hawkins County or TBI pulling up a bunch of cars over there at that cemetery, with the equipment to, to search down in there to see if this little girl's there or not. I don't see them up there saying, hey, we're following a lead. We're following a tip here. We hear this is a possibility. We're going to check it out. Right? They're not checking it out. Why? Why? I think Summer's whole case has been gaslighted. Don Wells made a statement. He made a statement, right? He said that, he said that his boss, called him up. My boss called me. Listen, my boss called me up and he was crying, asking why did I sell a video, $5,000, a video of him doing ungodly things to my daughter. Ha 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 ha. And says Candace, right? They're cracking up, they're laughing, they think it's so funny. And here they are admitting that they was allowing people to have at their daughter while they videoed it. They admitted that they didn't only video it, but they were selling the video out for some money, and the boss was upset about it. Now, if they have video of their boss, who else do they have video of? Who else do they have video of? And Don Wells says, oh, law enforcement came here 8 or 9 times, tearing the house apart. Well, what the hell was they looking for? Because they sure the hell ain't solved Summer's case. They haven't solved Summer's case, so what the fuck was they looking for? You tell me. Because that shit don't sound normal to me. Like I said, I think Summer's case could have been solved already. I think it could have been solved right day 1 or 2. To be honest with you. This don't seem like a hard case to solve. Sounds to me like it don't want to be solved. That's what it's sounding like to me. And it ain't the first case. It ain't the first case to be done like this. Just saying. I'm sure you guys know of other cases that have been done like this, right? Where law enforcement just didn't seem to want to solve it for some reason. Right? Some kind of reason it wasn't getting solved. Put a 1 in the chat. I think we all know cases like that. Just the way it is. Just the way it is sometimes, folks. In the interview, H says that Summer was wet on the pillow. I played it out for you guys. Summer was wet on the pillow at Walgreens, at Sonic's, and at Priceless. So where was she changed? The only place she... And let's remember Allison had cameras. Let's remember Allison had cameras. And I'm going to tell you, if nothing went down at Allison's house, Allison would have been pulling out those cameras saying, look, law enforcement. Look, Mr. Johnny Law. You could see her pull up. You could see my son get out and come up to the house. And they pulled the hell off. You could see everything here. But seeing that she didn't, and if Allie would have showed law enforcement some camera footage, she would have been telling everybody. When the YouTubers and everybody was there, she would have been like, look, when law enforcement came to our house, I showed them. I showed them the footage. I have cameras. And I showed them the footage of where Candace pulled up and my son got out and came into the house and they left. And I showed that to law enforcement. But no, she didn't show them. She had cameras, but she didn't show no footage. Those cameras were disappeared. Just like the ones where, the ones that Jody Sue had old Mr. Dobbs on, and other people on. They disappeared too, right? It's funny how June the 15th, everybody's mother freaking surveillance cameras disappeared, right? Except the ones down the road going out on the Beach Creek that one of the neighbors had on a tree. Other than that, everybody's cameras disappeared, right? Right. I agree. I agree, Nicole. Absolutely. A lot of times they don't want a case solved. Something up with that. Something up with that. You know, sometimes their shit swept under the rug for one reason or another. Yeah, no cameras, no cameras, all gone, all gone. I find that really, really strange, right? I mean, Allison said that she got those cameras because somebody came in and walked out the door with a whole game machine while her mother was in the kitchen washing dishes. And she went and got some of them cameras and posted them around the house to make sure that didn't happen again. Well, where the hell was those cameras on June 15th, 2021? Where was those cameras? I'm telling you, a lot of shit's been covered up in Summer's case. A whole lot of stuff has been covered up to protect a lot of people. That's my opinion. I'll keep it. Yes, she is. Yes, she is. Raven Rose. She is absolutely beautiful. That little girl is adorable, and she did not deserve what has happened to her. We are 4 years down the road today. 4 years down the road today. And we shouldn't have been 4 weeks down the road with this case. We shouldn't have been 4 fucking hours down the road with this case. I think this could have been solved in 4 hours if they'd have pulled Hunter and Candace and Grandis and Dom Wells all in and those three boys, and they would have interrogated the hell out of them until the truth came out. I wouldn't have let them wait till the next day to come down to the station to be questioned. I just said, "Your all asses are picked up right now. Everybody down to the station right now. You're going to be up all night anyway with this child missing, so you might as well be up getting your asses questioned all night long." It sounds like that law enforcement down there is lazy and everybody wants to get their fucking rest before they do their job, right? Put a one in the chat if you agree with me. And put a one for me, somebody, because I agree with my damn self. Just saying. I think, you know what I think? I think that somebody needs to be in Tennessee, not TBI, not, not I think that somebody outside, they need to send someone outside inside and find out what the fuck is going on in Tennessee. That's what I'm thinking. I'm going to tell you something. And I know Allison is no longer with us. And as a person, I liked Allison. As a person, she, like all people, they can be, they can be good if they want to. I truly believe that all people could be good if they want to. They just don't want to. We choose to go to heaven or hell. It's our choice. And a lot of people ain't making the right choices, right? And that's their problem, not mine. Thank God for that. And it's fine with me because that just makes more room in heaven for me, right? It's just more room in heaven for me. Maybe I'll get a whole mansion to myself the way these people down here are going in the wrong direction, right? Not my problem. But, I think all humans, every human can choose to be a righteous soul. They can say no. They can say no to the drugs. They can say no to the alcohol. They can say no to everything that hinders them from being the best person that they can be. They can say no to doing evil things. It ain't that hard to overcome the devil because Jesus already overcame him for us. So we can definitely overcome it. Jesus already did it. And with him, we can overcome it as well. If we want to make the right choices, we can. Or we can make the wrong choices. We can take the easy way out and just, raise hell and be a big problem to society. Right? That's the easy way out. There ain't no work in being that way. That's for sure. But I don't choose to be that way. Once upon a time, I thought about it. I thought about it. You know? But that swift kick in the backside from my parents made me think twice and go down the righteous path. Right? Thank God for a swift kick. Obviously, some people don't get that swift kick. Or it didn't do any good if they did. I don't know. But the point being is, I like Allison as a person, as I said. But I think Allison was very evil. I think she was a very evil human being. I heard the way she talked over on Andrew's channel. I heard the way she talked about people and the things she said, and I heard the way she spoke to, on some of the other creators, podcast and everything, and she was a very evil person. She was a very evil person. She didn't believe in following the laws and raising her children with with respect and kindness and love and all the things that you're supposed to instill in your children as you raise them. She wasn't doing it. It was live and let live, and she was letting those kids pretty much raise themselves and get out of control, and and she was just trying to cover it up as she went, how she could, when she could, and what she could. and you can't be like that. You can't, you can't aid and abet pure evilness. And Allison did, and she would whenever she could. It's just the way it is. And, put a one in the chat if you agree. I mean, I know what I'm talking about. I heard her. I listened to her. And, I'm not speaking ill of the dead. I'm speaking the truth about the dead. And, I'm going to be honest with you. When it comes to the dead, I'm one of those people that here's how I feel. If you're a bastard when you're alive, then you're a bastard when you're dead. If you're a piece of crap when you're alive, you're a piece of crap when you're dead. I'm not going to build somebody up just because they're not here anymore. I'm not going to do it because I'm not going to lie. I refuse to lie. If someone's a bad person, then call it the way you see it. Don't say, hey, they were such a good person, all this. No, they wasn't a good person. They put people through a lot of hell and damn misery. And I don't care if they're dead or not. The pain and suffering and all the stuff they caused is still living on in the people that they caused it to. Okay? And we can't forget that. Just because they're gone and they ain't making everybody miserable anymore. Right? It's just how it is. So, point being is, I believe, Hunter went and he tried to, we know that he went and he tried to supposedly, allegedly, pull a young girl out of her vehicle that had a baby in the back of it. What was he after? What was he knew the kid's in there. So why is he trying to pull this mother out of her vehicle? What was he after? Was he after the vehicle or the child? Let us think about that. Okay? We know that he went out in the middle of the street and he attacked a little girl, right? Not a man, not a boy his size, a little girl, right? We know that he was giving his mom a lot of stuff because her boyfriend had to take a hold of him and put him out of the house, right? Which that was a boyfriend I wouldn't have had in the house to begin with because he was no better than Hunter when it came to being, nice or talking to Allison. Because I heard the boyfriend talk some real crap to Allison too. And made me wonder why you got this, this freaking bomb, this nightmare in your house. But, it is what it is, right? It is what it is. Some women get desperate. Some women get lonely. It'd be a cold day in hell before I ever got that desperate and fucking lonely. But, a lot of people do. But the point being is, Allison tried to cover up a lot of things for Hunter. And I think in a roundabout way, Allison didn't want to say nothing because, Hunter's her son. And I understand that. And I understand that, she felt that Candace, this is all Candace and Grandis, and why should her boy pay for it, pay the price? But, I seen a recording from, JLR and Molly Golightly and all of them, Bullhorn Betty, when they were all down there. I seen a recording where Allison's mother was telling them that, Dom Wells did bad stuff. Dom Wells was talking about Allison's daughter and her body. He was talking about, supposedly this woman's like, he's going to go, they're going down for what they did to Summer and those kids and what they did to our kids. I mean, she didn't elaborate on everything They did, but it sounded pretty bad. This woman, was talking about how Hunter wasn't normal after he got back from that swimming hole. She was talking about how he was shaking. She was talking about, how everything had changed after he got back from that swimming hole. This was before the phone call. This was not after the phone call. This was before the phone call. He was acting like this. And they were putting it out. So I think in a roundabout way, they wanted everyone to, and Allison even sat there and was telling Chris M that she believed that Summer was passed away on those milk jugs. She said, she was standing there saying, she truly believed that Summer was unalive. And then Chris reminded her, oh, but your boy was there. Wouldn't he know? And she's like, oh no, she's alive. A 10. And what would Hunter? Oh, a 10. Now a whole thing changed when we're talking. She's reminded of her boy. I mean, Allison said, that she saw Summer's spirit on her porch, and Summer said, I'm home. I think Allison wanted us to know Summer was no longer with us, that she was gone, and, and Candace and Grandis was responsible for it. And it all went down at the swimming hole. But, she wanted to tell you in a roundabout way that wouldn't end up getting her boy put in prison. And that's my opinion. That's my opinion, you guys. I'm going to keep it. Sometimes you got to read between the lines. But, Allison was no saint. Just saying. She was no saint. And you all know that. I'm not telling you nothing you don't know. PG ain't been here for 4 years. We all have been here for 4 years. All of us. Every last one of us have been here. We all know what I'm talking about. And it's the truth. Sometimes the truth ain't easy, Sometimes the truth ain't easy. Hey, love a Scorpio. I appreciate 24 months, girl. All right. Summer, you are not forgotten. Hey, girl, she is not, and she won't be. She won't be. Absolutely not. As long as we can, we're going to stay here, and we're going to keep on keeping on. We want Summer found. We want her found, or at least we want the damn answers to why she's not being found. I don't care which one comes first, but we want answers, right? We want answers, and we're going to get them. We're going to get them at some point. We're going to get them. If you want to know something bad enough, God will let you know. He'll let you know. Trust and believe that. I'm going to tell you, I'm a true believer in seek and you shall find. And we're going to keep us seeking. That's what we're going to do. And yeah, why did they memorialize her early on? Yeah, they memorialized her right about the time they cut all of her hair off and started plotting and planning against her, in my opinion. That is when they memorialized her. And they also memorialized her really early because they didn't expect anyone to show up at Morrison Cemetery to see if there was flowers on those graves. They didn't think, Don and Candace didn't expect Don B to show up at the swimming, at that swimming hole and find those flowers on the day that they was memorializing Summer this year. They didn't expect, us to show up at the cemetery and find the ones on Timothy Morrison's grave. They didn't suspect none of that. They were just trying to seek some attention with the little lights up there around her swing, like they was doing something. Right? And that's what prompted everybody to go in different directions to see what else they had been doing. And they have been doing a lot. It seems like they put flowers at the place where, where we believe that she was on live, the swimming hole. And they seem to put flowers where we believe that, they put her down under, Timothy Morrison's grave, where Andy Bernard says that's where she is, and I ain't afraid to say it. Um, you know, so they seem to put the flowers in the two main places that Candace went to on June 15th, 2021, right? And then around the swing that's been the center of all the attention for 4 years, right? You know, well, how quaint was that, right? How quaint was that? Oh yeah, yeah. Grandis was just able to come and go as she pleased, right? Um, I'm going to tell you something. When people are guilty, they flee the scene. And if you took note, Grandis fled the scene, Andy Bernard fled the scene, Jody Sue fled the scene, and Donnie Candace, they fled the scene as soon as they could over into Arkansas. They all were fleeing, right? They was all fleeing. Nobody wanted to stay there. So, yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, love is Scorpio. I appreciate that, girl. I appreciate your support for Summer's channel. God bless. Super sticker. All right. I appreciate it. God bless, girl. But yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah. Yeah. I tell you, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how much can come out. Matter of fact, I heard Jody Sue she dirty deleted a live where she had said, I didn't personally see it. I heard through the grapevine. That's, news travels fast, right? But I heard that she, you know, was dirty deleted a lie where she said she wished that Andy would just come out and let everybody know where Summer's at, right? That's what she said, and then she deleted it. So, put a one in the chat if you heard about it, or if you were in her live and heard it personally. Yeah, but she dirty deleted it. So, Jody Sue, knows a whole Jody Sue knows a whole lot about Andy being really involved over there on 110 Ben Hill Road with some really shady shit going on, obviously. And she keeps bringing it out, and so on and so forth. And I still say that Andy was talking to his son when he was talking about seeing Summers, being the last one to see Summers on live body. I think he was telling the son, and I had to be the last one to see this little girl's on live body, as if it was maybe had something to do with the son. you know I don't know. But that, from what, the little sister said, he was talking to Bub, which is her brother, right? And it sounds like Andy was pretty angry, pretty upset with this Bub boy, telling him about how, he had to be, had to have something to do with Summer's online body. That's often bothered me. That's often, because I've always thought after the little girl came, Jody Sue let the little girl come out and talk in the way that, because Jody Sue didn't ever mention her son being told this, but the little girl did. And, and it sounded like Andy was really talking to that boy. possible some involvement with that boy in all of this. And then Jody Sue did say, right on my live, right here on our panel, Jody Sue, said that um herself, that she sent that boy off to the military, to protect him against this case, to protect him and their family against Summer's case, right? And then I had said something about, I don't care if you're military or not, if they found out that you're involved in something like this, they're going to send you back to be prosecuted or whatever. And she like, no, 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 they military, once you're in the military, they don't, like you got some kind of fucking immunity because you joined the military. No, that ain't how it is, right? That ain't how it is. Absolutely not. But put a one in the chat if you've often thought that Andy was talking to his own son when he was talking about, the online body thing. Because that's what I'm thinking. That's my opinion. Um, I don't think I don't think that I don't think that David Dotson, he saw some videos, but I don't know what videos he's seen. I haven't ever had the pleasure to talk to David Dotson, you know, at all. I haven't had the pleasure of talking to David Dotson. Yeah, and Jody Sue's son. Yes, according to Fred Heel, Jody Sue's son was in the swimming pool. And this week I'm going to bring more out about that. I'm going to bring more out about that because Andy came in my chat talking, talking some garbage, and and so forth. And and I'll bring receipts. I'll bring receipts. I always do. You know, anybody can say, anyone can say whatever they want about Summer's channel here. I personally don't really care. They can say whatever they want about Summer's channel here. But I'm going to tell you what, you go back and you look at any damn video you want, and you will see the receipts being pulled up. Whatever I have to say, you will see the receipts being pulled up. You will see the content come up to prove exactly what I'm saying and what I was telling. I always show receipts. I don't say nothing without showing the damn proof. And it is what it is. And this channel tells the truth. A lot of people can't handle the truth, but a lot of people don't like the truth. And that's their problem as well. I want the truth. I need the truth. I love the truth. I love the truth. Yeah, you don't always want to face the truth. I don't always like the damn truth either. But you know what? I appreciate people telling it to me. I appreciate, I appreciate them saying it. I appreciate them telling it to me. Whether it be good or bad, I appreciate the truth, Absolutely. Nobody loves hearing the truth all the time, but I thank God for all the people that know how to tell it. Um, you know, I don't know about all that Fred and wired up stuff and everything. I mean, I've been hearing so many conflicted stories about the wiring up and everything. I don't even I don't even know, I don't even know if it's true, to be honest with you. Um, I don't know. Don't get me wrong. Um, I wish I wish we knew the truth about it, you know. Um, I mean, I keep, I keep hearing, I mean, if Fred was wired up and trying to get, as much information, everything for summer, like he says, then he would be a little knight in shining armor, right? He would be a little knight in shining armor. But, I don't know how true it is, if it's true at all. Um, because, you know, like, why didn't Fred and Laura come out way earlier? Why didn't they come out way earlier and tell all they could tell and everything? Why wait so long before they came out? You know, it's like a lot of these people really wasn't wanting to, come out and put everything on the table for the sake of this little girl. You know, I don't know. I have no idea. Absolutely. Yes, it is. It's Miss Norway's birthday. Happy birthday to Miss Norway. God bless. I ain't seen her in a while. I have not seen her in a while. And we greatly miss her, right? We greatly miss her. Hopefully she'll show up and let us know she's okay. God bless her. Um, Absolutely. Happy birthday to Miss Norway. I heard Jody Sue say she was running through the creek to keep the scent down for scent dogs. But then I also heard that the scent dogs came right down the driveway and straight out into the road and stopped at her feet. Right. But I also heard she had her dog down there on the damn road to kind of fuck up everything for the scent dogs as well. Right. I mean, it sounds like they were all trying to fuck up everything as much as they could and to keep anything from anything being found. It just seems like this big group of people were all in cahoots of this little girl's disappearance. That's what I believe. You know, um, put a one in the chat if that's what you believe. That's what it seems like it is. Just saying, you know. I had a lot of people say that they seen the picture of Jody Sue's son in that swimming pool with Summer. Jody Sue denies and Andy denies their son ever being in a pool with Summer, but a lot of people say early on that they saw pictures of him in the pool with Summer. I believe I did too. See a picture of that boy in a pool at one point in time. Um, Put a two in the chat if you saw that picture. Okay. Raven Rose says I saw it. Put a one in the chat. Now Jody Sue was saying that monster. That's what she calls Andy. Jody Sue said that monster. Um, I love a Scorpio. Your device is not connected. Your device is not connected, hon. Put a one in the chat if you remember Jody Sue saying that monster was terrorizing her and her daughter with seeing Summers on live body. 'cause she did say it. Yeah, she did say it. And then put a one in the and actually put, because we got ones and twos running through here right now, put a three. Put a three in the chat if you remember Jody Sue letting her daughter come out, and her daughter saying that her that Andy was talking to her and her brother Bubs, or whatever they call him, Boogs or Bugs. Um, put a three in the chat if you remember the daughter coming out and talking about how Andy was talking to her and her brother about this. Because I clearly remember that. Matter of fact, I think I have the recording of it. I didn't ever play it out because I don't, like playing out, teenagers or young kids. I don't like doing that. But I do have the recording of the daughter talking about, about all of this. And, you know, and, and it seems like Andy was talking, I believe he was talking to the boy. I don't think I think the daughter heard it, but I think who Andy was directing the conversation to was his son. And put a one in the chat if you think he was, if you think I'm right. Put a one in the chat if you believe he was directing that conversation to his son and the little girl was just overhearing it. Put a one in the chat. That's what I think. That's my opinion. He was talking to the boy and not the little girl. Just saying. That's what I believe, to be honest. I don't know how all of these people got mixed up with Don and Candace Wells, but I'm going to tell you something. The end result of it all can't be good. Just saying. The end result of all of this cannot be good. But listen, you guys, I'm going to have to wrap it up. I ran in here tonight because I definitely did not want to miss Summer's 4th year missing. We love her too much. We have to stay on top of all of this, and we got to, keep pushing to get this baby's case solved. I mean, you wouldn't want someone, if you were missing, you wouldn't want someone giving up on you ever. You wouldn't want someone giving up on you ever. You would want your story told. Whether you're still here, you're not here. You would sure hope someone finds you and brings you home and gets justice for you. And, and if you wouldn't want someone giving up on you, let us not give up on this little girl. Let's continue to do all we can to get little Summer found, brought home, and justice served. I understand there's a lot of wicked people in all of this, but we got to do what we can to try to convert some of them into telling the truth for the sake of this baby, to help her, to let her have her own space. Let her have her own space, and her brothers to have closure, right? They deserve that. And most of all, it'd really be a weight off of these people if they could, just tell the truth. It would be a big weight off of them if they could just tell the truth about what happened to this child, and let her be found, let her be found and brought home. I mean, they wouldn't want to be out there somewhere all alone and their brothers worrying and crying and not knowing what went on with them. They wouldn't want their brothers suffering, because of their loss. They would want their brothers to live a happy life, especially after, Summer paid the price for them boys to be free the way they are, to have a better life. And God bless them. God bless them. But um, hopefully, one of them, maybe more. I'm sure there's plenty of people in this group that knows what happened. Maybe more will come forth and, and tell the truth and let this little girl be found and laid to rest in her own space. In her own space. I believe Summer's not with us any longer. And she deserves to be put in her own space, not someone else's, but her own. And her brothers deserve to know where she's at, so they can proceed in life and become something in life. All these all these evil people surrounding Summer's case done lived their lives. Give these boys a chance to live theirs. Amen. And I tell you, letting this little girl be found, letting her be found, by letting her brothers get closure and her be found, it might help. It might help, it sure might help them get into the promised land, because right now they probably ain't got a chance in hell. So, might help them get a ticket to the promised land if they just do something good after doing something so evil. Amen. Listen, y'all, PG's going to get out of here. Hey, our bucket list has holes. I appreciate it. Thank you, PG. I will continue to stay strong with you. Hey, girl. God bless. God bless. I appreciate you supporting Summer's channel, and we are definitely going to stay strong. We're going to stay strong for all these missing kids, because no child should ever be going through any of this that these children are going through. Amen. We're gonna do all we can to see justice is served at some point. Absolutely. So, keep the prayers going up, you guys. Keep the faith, and keep the prayers going up, because I know one thing. I know that we serve a powerful God, and I know when God wants Summer found, she's going to be found. So let's keep praying. Let's keep praying that God wants her found, just like we do. Let us keep praying that He wants her to be found, and He lets her be found, because we sure need her to be found. We need closure. Her brothers need closure. And most of all, Summer needs to be found and justice served on her behalf, in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. So, and we don't want, the thing is, until Summer's case is solved, the evil beings that did this, remember, they're still out there. They're still out there. And there's other children at risk, just like Summer. There's other children at risk. When people like this are loose, other children are at risk. So her case really needs to be solved. So keep those prayers going up. And please ask God to let this baby be found. Let all of these children be found, so we can all get closure in all of this, including the children that's missing. They need closure too. They need closure. They're out there somewhere. And, you got to wonder sometimes. I don't think that kind of fear can go away. I don't think that kind of fear could go away until the child is found. I think that fear that those children felt when all of this was happening is still with them until they are found. It's still there. It's still alive. And that's why we need to keep looking. All right, you guys. I'm going to head out of here. God bless. Much love. Good night.